Welcome to the tutorial Working with Text. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the text tool. So to select the text tool, you can click on its icon in the Tools toolbar or use the keyboard shortcut Option T on Mac or Alt T in Windows. I'm also going to quickly create a layer for the text tool and call it text. So I'm going to click somewhere in the camera view and write my phrase. And then we're going to take a look at the Tool Properties panel for the text tool. So as you can see, the font that I currently have selected is Arial, and the reason I chose this font is because if I selected another font, sometimes not all the options are available for that font, but with Arial, I know for sure all the options in the Tools Property panel are available. Specifically, usually the bold and italic, sometimes these don't exist for certain fonts. So as you notice, if I press bold and italics, it hasn't changed the font of the phrase that I currently have in my camera view. So if you actually want to change these font styles, you have to highlight your phrase using the text tool, and then you can use the bold and italics and have that apply. And then once again, if you decide to change your font to something that doesn't have those styles available, then they'll automatically be removed from your font. So this font, Karate, does not have bold and italics, and currently this phrase is neither bolded or italicized. So in order to see how the alignment works, I'm going to actually divide that into two lines and make it a bit maybe more staggered so it's more obvious between the two lines. So once again, the same thing applies. You have to highlight the complete text to have the alignment, the four types of alignment work, and most people are familiar with these from text editing programs. There's the left, center, and right aligned, or the justified. Actually, I'm going to bring this back to left. Then if you want to change the size, same thing, your font has to be highlighted for it to apply. You don't have to change the size of your entire phrase. Say if you just want to change the first letter and make it bigger, you can scale it separately than the rest of your text. Same with the kerning. If you're not familiar with what kerning is, what it is the space between two individual letters. And the way that you can think about this is two kernels in a corn cob. You want to change the spacing between two individual small objects. So if you do that and you change the kerning to either a positive or a negative number, you can see that you changed the spacing. A way to cheat the tracking, which is the space between each of the characters of an entire phrase, is to highlight your entire phrase and then change the kerning, which is essentially changing what we call the tracking. Another thing that you can do is click on the auto kerning. This option will basically kern or track your phrase with information about the font. So when a font is originally created, there's a certain amount of spacing between the characters that looks good to the eye and the person who originally designed the font, and that kind of information is available to be programmed with the font. So if you want to auto kern, you can check that option. You can also change the first line indentation. So if you just want a few spaces, this looks better for probably a full paragraph. You can decide how much spacing you'd like there. And then you can also change the line spacing, which is also known as the leading. You can make it negative or positive between your two lines of text. So apart from the text tool, you can also use the select tool to manipulate your text. So if you select all of your text, you can scale it by holding down Shift and Alt Option. You can scale it from the center. If you actually, let's undo that actually, and then if you actually pull your box, you can stretch, or scale your text unproportionally to have it kind of give it a little bit more character. And you can also obviously keyframe these things and animate the stretch, the squash and stretch or the pull of your text. Also, if you want to manipulate the characters individually, you can do this by breaking the text apart. What you do is you'd select it with the select tool, and then you'd go to the top menu and select drawing, convert, break apart text layers. So when you do that, you'll see that each of these characters now exist in a separate box. So what that means is you can take a character and you can squash it and stretch it, you can scale it, you can do all sorts of things to it without affecting the other text. However, if you want to actually change what the contour looks like of the character, you can't do that. Same, I selected the contour editor tool and I can't select any of the characters. But if I want to do that and I want to stylize these characters a little bit, I just have to go through the same process again that I did before to break apart the text. I select my text with the select tool, I go to the top menu and select drawing, convert, break apart text layers. So if you do that process twice, you now have the ability to change the contour points on your text. So I can do something like this and really give my text some character by changing its contour points. Something like that, for example. So that's pretty much it for working with text. Stay tuned for the next tutorial, the override tool.